verbal filler challenge video. For this assignment, I decided to analyze my persuasive speech from 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. During that time, I counted 7 different filler words. The only 2 I used were and was the most frequent that I used. I used that 5 times, and I used twice. I typically used those when trying to think of what to say, and it gets worse when I'm more flustered, as I'm trying not to get off track, and that gives me an excuse to pause and to think about what to say next. I don't like it when I don't have the exact words to say, and trying to think of it off the cusp tends to get me more flustered. And I also noticed that it tends to get worse the more flustered I get, which tends to snowball. The majority of those verbal filler words were due to one starting a cascade, where the rest mostly came from that. But I also noticed that I tended to, instead of using verbal filler words, would just pause and stare off and think about what to say. In order to help with this issue of pausing and using these verbal filler words, I thought that I could practice giving speeches in general, not even necessarily for the speeches for this class, but just to practice doing them on my own, either by myself, to my wife, or to a crowd. By doing this, it would help me get more confident in speaking, not from a memorized or a script, which would allow me to become better at thinking off the cusp of what to say instead of just blatant memorization.